Grateful that you've come on the show today to tell us about this process, because we must tell these stories. Good morning, Australia. Good evening, America, and welcome to everyone listening across the planet today. If you're listening live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, we have the delightful Hannah ready and waiting to respond to your comments and questions. And just a reminder that if you want to find out more about our shows, please jump on to ToniLontis.com, where you'll find information about our shows, our guests, and our co-hosts. You'll also find lots of information on our YouTube channel, Toni Lontis, and I'd love you to subscribe to our channel. It makes Kez and our lives wonderfully better when we know we have subscribers. There's also a link to Kez's YouTube channel at the bottom of the show notes. Now, a reminder too that you can see the replays on Toni TV, our own channel app, which is available on Roku, LG, Samsung, smart devices and TVs across the planet. I want to do a welcome of country today because of the special part that Indigenous communities play in the development of a country's cultural identity. So I want to respectfully acknowledge the people of the Yugambeh language region, the traditional owners of the land in which we meet, and pay my respect to their elders past and present, and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening here today. Now, before I introduce you to my co-host with the mostess, Miss Kez Wickham St George, I just want to start the show by saying a big shout out to my amazing team. Now that starts with the guys at BBS Radio TV and our weekly sound technician TJ, who hears the scramble that goes on sometimes before live shows go to air, hears the panic, and actually is a calming voice and presence on the other end of the line before we go live to air. So going live to air is actually completely stressful at times. People don't turn up, your guests pull out and then decide that this is not the right time for them. All sorts of things happen in the immediate lead up to a live show. And so my team includes TJ and the BBS radio team, and of course my gorgeous co-host, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a moment. But behind the scenes, scrambling in that 20 minutes before a live show, is my beautiful PA, Renee. Now, Renee does amazing job with little, and we are not located together, so Renee lives and works in the Philippines, and there's days when I want to reach out and give her a big hug. She is an amazing individual, and I could not do what I do without her. And also listening in the background, we used to have the gorgeous Peo doing commenting, and we've now got Hannah, who does exactly the same thing for us. Kez couldn't do what we do each and every week without the team that sits behind us. And a big shout out to Jen, who is my online business manager and who quietly, patiently, and out of the spotlight does amazing things with the website. So I thought it was important to start today when I've had just an incredibly bad week, and I wanted people to know that despite showing up every week, week in, week out, I'm human, and there's weeks when the things in life are just exhaustingly present. And having just been through 2 consecutive floods in a month, plus having to rehome our animals, plus having to clean up from the devastation of floods, I feel like I'm floundering. And that's why I'm so grateful to the people in and around me, and grateful to Kez for showing up and doing this show with me, because not only is she one of my closest friends, but she actually relieves the workload and the pressure on me simply by showing up. And so today I wanted to start the show and tell you just how magnificent Kez Wickham St George is. Now, you might look at Kez and think that she is an old girl, but I'm telling you, she has the heart of a passionate young woman, and she spends her life writing amazing books, promoting what we do together, connecting with people and making sure that they're okay. And in the background of that, not only does she continue to write all sorts of genre, from fiction to non-fiction and now poetry, she's found time to produce and help produce a small movie about one of her books. She appears each and every week on the Author and Artist Hour with me without fail. She's like an ever-ready battery that just keeps going on and on and on. And then, to top things off, she connects with new and emerging artists and authors. She mentors them and then does amazing YouTube reviews of their books. I am the most grateful co-host in the planet to have gorgeous Kez Wickham St George as my co-host on the Author and Artist Hour. And so this week, we're going to talk about what's been happening in the world of Kez. Good morning, Kez.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm better now I have you by my side on this show.
Oh.
You had some amazing things happen over the last recent
Mm,
weeks. And I thought that
yes.
it's a great opportunity for you to let the audience know what's been happening in Kez's world, because it's pretty cool, people, what Kez has been able to accomplish, particularly in the last 12 months. So I'm going to hand over to you to let the audience know some of the amazing things that have been happening for you and what we've got coming up in May.
Okay. Well, what's been happening to me? Um, well, as all authors, we all think my book is worth a movie. All authors think I'm no different from anyone else, except I had the contacts to make it happen. And so, and I was still very nervous about it. The movie producer might think this is rubbish. I'm going to put it in the bin. And so I approached her. I'm very lucky that she lives in the same district as me. So I invited her over for a cup of tea. Now, we've only ever met twice before at networking situations. Invited her over, and we got talking. I showed her the prologue of my last novel, which is Scribe, which is the last book of the trilogy. And we just made eye contact, and it was, without having to say it, it was a yes. And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it that this young lady, and she is very young, next to me, she's young anyway, um, decided that she would promote and deliver a movie to me about my work. And I'm still, even though the premiere's been, gone, done, I'm still pinching myself that I was that fortunate. I am not a huge public speaker. When there's 200 or 300 people in the auditorium, I tend to think I look like a squirrel in headlights. I get these big eyes, and I think, oh my goodness, what do they want me to say? I'm better on this situation talking to you, Toni, and to an audience I can't see. So anyway, she got me up on stage, and I was very calm. And I knew I had to be calm to speak. And she said to me, "What would you like to say?" And I'm not a pretty crier. My face just crumpled up and I cried. And I just hugged her and I thought, I can't thank you enough. I cannot thank you or the actors who I chose. I went before a board of a panel of what you call it, a panel of experienced people that knew what they were looking for in my story. And they agreed with me over a luncheon after we'd finished that these were the actors we were going to use. So I was blown away by all of that. And then standing on stage, sitting in the audience, watching the movie, just watching it unfold, and my words and my scenery, what I'd asked for, being shown on screen. And it's all, I wanted to keep it local. It was kept within Rockingham and Perth in a place called Safety Bay. I was sitting next to the mayor, and she said to me, I have never ever seen Safety Bay from a drone's point of view. And it's a beautiful place where we live. It's stunning where we live. And so, yeah, that's what happened. I had 100 people because of COVID in the audience. I had people inquiring for more books. I had my autograph taken. I was interviewed by a major newspaper. It all happened. And I'm sort of thinking, how did this happen? But it was all my movie producers, what she did, not me. I just gave her the prologue and said, let's work with it. And I'm still blown away that happened. That was for me, that was my book on stage, on a movie. It's the most amazing, breathtaking moment of my life so far. And yeah, that's all I'm still speechless. I'm still thinking, but this happened and that happened and this happened. And someone like came up, and there were so many people wanting to shake my hand, hug me, congratulate me. It was just a blur. It really was a blur. I walked the red carpet, and someone said to me, you are so humble, because I just wanted to hide under the carpet. It was a moment in my life I will never ever. And I will always be grateful to the producer, Sally Newman, who you will be meeting very soon, Toni.
Yes, I can't
The
wait
movie
to meet her in
will be
person.
shown. The movie will be shown at the MMH retreat, and Sally will be getting up and giving a wee speech about how the movie was made and the contacts we've made since then. She's been offered some amazing opportunities because of this movie.
Oh, wow, that's
So she will be going into maybe major movie productions, I would guess. I would guess so. She is so talented that, I mean, as she said to me, your prologue is 5 minutes long. We need a half-hour movie. Can you imagine what she had to do? Now, Sally also, she is a beautiful, beautiful woman to get to know. But she's so active. I was quite surprised that she has a disability of MS.
yes,
I was very surprised about that, because she doesn't show it at all. As you know, both of us had little disabilities in different ways, and
yes,
none of us show it.
yes.
So when she told me of her, sometimes I don't quite make it, Kez, to a meeting or to show up for her actors, and she never missed a beat. And I really appreciated that. I was invited. It took a year. And I just, every week we would make contact. Every week she would say, it's going ahead beautifully. And I'd think, I haven't seen anything yet. What's going on?
I know, Kez would say, I know something's happening, but I don't know what that is.
That's right. She did invite me one horribly rainy, awful, cold day to be down at the beach and watch the actors with all their makeup on, because there were bones sticking out of skin and goodness knows what in the prologue. So she had a beautiful, very clever makeup artist, but the day was too cold. It was rainy. It was blowing a gale. The sea was crashing up against the sea walls, and I declined. I said, I'll sit in my armchair and watch the movie. So she was very grateful for my attitude too, which was, I don't want to interfere. This is your baby. This is your creation. Let's see what you come up with. Only she wouldn't embarrass me, because if she embarrassed me, then it was like Skittles. They fell down on a line. So I just trusted her. When you look in a person's eyes and I can trust you, that is the biggest thing. I do a lot of book reviews for
Yes.
different authors, and I just know who I can trust and who will appreciate the fact that I volunteer this information. There is no charge for my book review. I
Mm.
volunteer it. And it gives me great joy to do so, because sometimes books get swallowed up every weekend. They just get swallowed up. They're
Yeah.
not noticed.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out to the author. I've just been one of the more fortunate ones that my books have been well and truly out there, published, and people have been buying them. So I'm very, very lucky. I also have a wonderful publisher, MMH Press, who makes sure that all my books are taken notice of. So yeah, even the
Mm.
poetry book, we were going to launch it this week, and it's just too
Yes.
busy. So we've
Yes.
decided to put it back till the day after the retreat finishes. So
That
yeah,
was
it's
my
been
next question, because that's been your next endeavor, was to write poetry. So all of your books
yeah.
have been non-fiction so far. Or what's the correct genre for your writing, Kez?
I For my novels, I am a
Yes.
fiction writer.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
fiction. Okay.
yes. But when you write a novel, Tony,
Yeah.
and from experience,
Yes.
you write from experience, unless there are some authors out there that come up with the most amazing genres, and it's sort of fiction, it's folk story, it's a little
Mm.
bit of magic. I
Yeah.
don't do that. My fictions are my experiences, and I add to them. And sometimes they're not my experience.
Mm.
I've been told a story, so I
Mm.
will add that into the book as well. And they are always. I ask permission. It's very
Mm.
important that people know their story's going in a book.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also it helps with sales. You've got to be honest. It helps with
Yes.
they know my stories, and that book I'm going to buy the book. So I'm going to buy one for mum and dad and nana and granddad as well. So yeah,
Mm.
it does help when yeah, my life is pretty magical, because I just know that there are people out there that need to be taken care of when it comes to
Yeah.
books, whatever.
Kez, your writing, you've always written, but this latter part of your life has been filled with lots of books and lots of writing, and now the movie. Your experience with the movie has uh, shown that writing can lead somewhere other than books. And
Definitely.
yeah, and so I have been privileged to share the movie journey with Kez along the way, from the moment she knew that the prologue was going to be made into a movie, and the excitement I was able to share when she told me, I think this is happening. It's really, really special to be included in someone's success. And we here in Australia don't do success well. And I think that part of the reason I like working with Kez is because she's so humble about what she's done. And she has achieved, particularly in the last 12 months that we have been doing shows and been talking, the things that she achieved, from her writing to the movie to speaking in public. Now, you have to understand that this has not been something that Kez has ever been comfortable with. But through her journey in the last 12 months, she's now feeling confident in speaking in front of larger groups of people. Now, that doesn't mean to say that she doesn't get nervous and it doesn't scare her, but she still does it. And the point of this is, it's never too late, is it, Kez? It's
No,
never too late.
no, no. Everyone has a story. Everyone has the right to be heard. That's my byline. Is write a book, write your story down. And the thing is, I'm not suggesting that you write your heart, put your heart on paper. You can fictionalize it.
Yes.
That was my very first book. I fictionalized it so that I was comfortable. The people I was writing about, there was no names, times, dates, or places.
Yeah.
You've got to be clever. And you just
Yes.
can't, when you do your first draft of your manuscript, you can spill your heart out on the paper, but then you
Absolutely.
get clever. You get really clever with it. Ask for help. Get a mentor. Get someone that
Yes.
knows what you're doing. That
Yes.
says you can't put that in. But let's put it another way. Recently I had a senior woman come to me and say, I've had this fairy story on my head for years, and she showed me the first draft, and she said, "But you're not horrified?" I said, "Well, no, it's your first manuscript ever, and we can work together on it. Let's change the first line, the first sentence." And she wanted to know, with my experience, and it's only because I've had people teach me.
Yes.
You don't know these things. You don't know how to put a book into the correct format to show someone without someone showing you how to do it. And there's no shame in that. And this is
No.
what I find with people. But I'm not good at
It's not
writing. Well, I am.
perfect.
I'm good at writing and I will help you. There's no excuses these days. When it comes to writing, I've had tremendous fortune. Good luck, whatever you want to call it. I've been noticed. And then I thought it's my time to give back. And that's the way I deal with it. I give
Yeah.
back. I'm so privileged to be on a co-host on Toni TV that, I wake up at 6 in the morning and I'm ready to go and I can't wait. I just talk about the ever ready battery. I'm like the bunny that's actually I'm all over the place. Let's go. So I get very excited, and the MMH retreat's coming up.
Yes.
Thank goodness I'm not a speaker. I thought, phew. But I'm on a panel. I'm on a panel of poets. Poetry is my deeper side of life. I write about emotions in poetry. I wrote when I first came to Australia. I was incredibly lonely because my
Yeah.
husband went up to the mine site, so I had nobody here. I had to learn to make new friends. I had to learn to become involved. And in New Zealand, I didn't need to. I was so well known. I was invited everywhere. Um, I didn't need to ask, can I join your club? I didn't need to make new friends. I had lifelong friends over there. It was a huge leap to come to Australia. I will never be sorry I came
Yeah.
here. But that was 20 years ago. So I'm also an artist. So I first
Yes.
started off in the public view as doing art exhibitions. And my very first art exhibition was in a private home, and my MC was my local doctor. I didn't know anyone else.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't know anyone else. I used to do a lot of mosaics as well. So two of my artworks were huge. They were huge. I forget the actual measurements. I didn't expect them to sell. I had a place for them each in my little garden. They both sold. To a lady that was having a private wedding at home, and they're so
Yes.
beautiful. I'll put
Yeah.
them in. I'll show them at the wedding, which she did, and I got more orders through that.
Yeah.
So life has been very, very good to me. But as an artist, your next door neighbor is an artist. It's a really hard field to get into.
Yeah.
Everybody is an artist
Yeah.
of some genre.
Yeah.
And so I decided that I would bring out my teaching skills because in New Zealand, I was known as a teacher.
Yes.
So I brought art, my way of art, the South Pacific way of art, let's just go art into Perth. And there was like a big collective sigh of relief. We are no longer structured. Kez can teach us
Can just
relax.
paint the way that they want.
Yeah. And so
Kez,
I
painting is often people take up painting when they're recovering from an illness, suffering from depression or anxiety. What is it about painting that helps soothe and heal the soul?
When you're going through trauma, Toni, painting to me personally was, I took my mind off the problem.
Yeah.
It just took it away. So, you know, the right, from what I've been shown and taught, the right brain can't argue with the left side of the brain, with the creative side. So the logic, the problems, the troubles, the everyday life is
Is
let to
switched off?
rest.
Uh-huh.
No, it's resting. The monkey brain isn't there.
Yeah.
So it's just creative. It's just putting color on paper. For anybody out there that wants to relax, just add color. Don't start being, you're not going to be a famous artist by just putting color. There's no expectations, and that's the beauty of it. There are absolutely no expectations. That's why I adore journaling, because I sit up in bed at night when I'm trying to go to sleep, my monkey brain's chattering away, and I doodle. I have a journal, and I doodle in that. I write little bits of poetry, and I'm always got something out there that I want to write about. My day, what's my husband up to, what my kids are up to, who I've met, and then I'll put like little drawings beside it. You can't see it when you're over here, Toni, because you're in my journal as well.
That's okay.
So it's like a release to me. When I first started art, I was in college, and I was amazed at what my teacher. It was very structured, and I followed. And I'm not a rule follower; I'm a rule breaker. So I followed the rules, footstep after footstep. And he was complimenting me on my ability to copy what he had shown us. Like we didn't have screens in those days. It was like a photo was handed out to each person. And I had the ability to put the finesse onto the animal cartoons that he gave us to copy. So I would put the whiskers and the big round eyes, put eyebrows on them, and I would cartoon them up, not knowing that would one day be my job as a cartoonist. Not even having a
Yes.
clue. I was just very creative. He'd give me a picture of a cat. I'll put a cigarette in the cat's mouth. That's who I was. I just like to, I put a mo on the dog. That he'd show me a picture of a giraffe, and the giraffe would be eating a cabbage. Things, silly things that I thought, this is how I see the picture, because my brain worked differently. And I also used to write little rhymes to go with them. When it was time to go to work, I met my very first. I was a window dresser and a ticket writer.
Yeah.
And I met my very first transvestite,
Yes.
who was my teacher
Yes.
as a window dresser. And he taught me some wonderful tips in life, is that fake it till you make it. So we did. We had such a beautiful time. Every Friday night, we would window dress that window. I was 15 and very innocent. My parents are very religious. So I was very innocent, very naive. Taught so much about the world by this one man. And I will never forget him.
Yeah.
His name was Nick. He was a Samoan. And a wonderful, wonderful man. He had me. I didn't know he was feeding me martinis and teaching me to smoke. I just enjoyed it. So I just had fun. And I never saw it as a job. Sadly, my mother found out when I arrived. I was a bit tipsy one night, and she found out. And so I was dragged away from that job and put into another job, which was full cartooning. And they loved what I did. and I stayed there for quite a while, just
Mm.
drawing cartoons of this one particular cartoon. He was the Four Square Man, and I used to um, draw him as they asked me to go on their weekly. It used to be like a weekly newspaper that went out to different shoppers, and then in my private time, I'd cartoon him up because that's who I saw him as, a silly little man with a packet of tea in his hand and a white apron on. Well, what can you do with that? There's lots you can do with that. So I learned that my sense of humor wasn't like everybody else. I was very, very different. I learned that life, you had to search for the joy in life. You really had to search for it. Because life, as I said, my parents were very, very strict. Why? They used to look at me and shake their heads because I had learned how to use makeup through being with a window dresser. I'd learned how to do my hair. I was very different from the rest of the organization that my mum and dad were in. So yeah, that's how I learned that life can be fun. I mean, we all have our ups and downs, Toni. It's life teaches you. Life does. And if people think the other day, for instance, I was outside on my garden in the front lawn, which is very open to the public, and this young man went past and he doffed his hat to me and he went, "Good morning, old school." And I just burst out. I thought it was beautiful because I am old school. I'm definitely old school, but I treasure that also.
Oh,
Absolutely
yes.
treasure every moment. It's given me wisdom. It's also given me focus. So when the book started arriving, when I came to Perth, lonely, write a book. And I wrote. I also taught art over here, but that's actually taken quite a big back seat since I've begun writing. Because I
Yes.
interview a lot of people.
Mm.
MMH Press, I am so grateful to because they've made sure that my name went out there.
Yeah.
They just made sure. So I
Yeah.
became a bestseller and best reader within my first three books for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That really took me by surprise when my publisher rang me the night of the launch of my very first book with her. She went, "Kez, even before you've had your launch, you've become a bestseller." I couldn't. I said, "What? Say that again." And so, yeah, what a surprise and what a privilege. Absolute honor to work
Mm.
with a person that knew my heart. And
Mm.
she does know me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, well, I'm there, but what next?
Mm.
And all of a sudden I had the what next syndrome. I hadn't had that before.
Yeah.
So I just keep
Yeah.
writing, keep improving. And then I thought, what about, talking to other authors? And I got their opinion of how come you are where you are, but we're still in the backdrops here wanting for our books. So I decided to do something about it. So I do book reviews. And the movie was a surprise. And then your offer of coming on Toni TV. What an honor, absolute privilege to be here every Wednesday morning, looking at your gorgeous face, talking about all sorts of things from floods to the newest author to movies. We cover such huge topics.
Yeah.
The authors that actually come on your show don't know how privileged they are. They really don't get it.
Mm.
They are truly, truly privileged to be on the show. I know that, excuse me, when I put authors before you, I know that your team go through them and see if they're suitable. So, wow, that's a huge wow for me because in my little office, in my little world here, I actually go through the authors that come to me, and I think, can I do something with you? Can I put
Mm.
you? There has been many, many books that I've said, sorry, I can't work with this
Yeah.
because they've never trusted a mentor. They've
Yes.
never trusted a life coach. They don't
Yes.
trust themselves. They can't look in
Yes.
the mirror and think, this story is so worthwhile. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do something with it.
Mm.
My advice to anybody is find yourself an honest mentor or
It's a
a coach.
powerful thing. And
you
it's
know, and
scary. It's not an easy thing to do, Kez, is to allow someone to read your words and comment on it. And you don't actually have to always agree, but the very process of allowing a mentor around your book will make your book better. So if you can just get over yourself and trust someone like Kez to help with your book, you will have a better book.
oh,
And it,
definitely.
and it's about having the best version of your book that you can possibly do, and a second set of eyes outside of your own inner circle and yourself will always make your book better. And it's not an easy process. I remember working with my editor, and she challenged me every step of the way. I
Mm.
think you should write it like this. I think you need to give more. I think you need to write more. And I'm like, no, no, no. It's, that whole, oh my God, it's just, because you're bearing your soul.
Mm,
But the thing that will make the book better is that process of bearing your soul in a way that connects to other human beings. And we connected by stories. So the better you tell the story, the book's going to be. And kids, that's how you like to help people wanting to write books. That's how you mentor them through that process, is to go, well, this is great, but what if we said it this way? What if we wrote it this way?
exactly.
What if you included this perspective to add depth to that character? So Kez is not only a mentor, but she's done it herself. So she's done the hard yards. How many
I
books
still
are we
do.
up to? How many books are we up to, Kez? How many books have
I've
you
got
got
number
now?
13. 13's on
Yeah.
its way.
So
Yeah,
if you're the author of 13 books, that doesn't come overnight, and that doesn't come without a process of being open to other people's thoughts. And so if you've got a book rumbling around in your head and you want someone just to run the ideas past, please jump on a call with Kez, because an author of 13 books has absolutely got the knowledge and wisdom you need to get your book out of your head and onto paper and onto a publisher. Kez, I had a thought before when you were talking about your work in cartoons, and I wondered if you've ever thought about writing a cartoon book or a series of cartoon books based on the cartoon work that you did years ago.
I have done. I
I
have
re-
done so.
you
I have
have?
done so. Yes, but it, but it wasn't well received. Must remember,
Oh,
no, it's not well received. There are a lot. All storybooks are almost children's storybooks have
yes.
don't have the pictures. Most of them are cartooned. The ones I have read recently have cartoons in them. Now,
Mm,
there's one I'm reviewing next Wednesday, um, after our show, that she is just brought a beautiful book out.
yeah.
But to look at the cover, beautiful. It really is. It's stunning, but it's cartooned. So
Ah,
there's nothing new. There, there are more creative ways, which I'm now mentoring a young lady. There are more creative ways. So let's put it this way: you write a book, and it's all this particular author has beautiful drawings in it that you can actually paint in the within the lines.
mm,
Um, she has beautiful positive words, right? Okay. The book was launched last year and it was huge. She sold, I think it was 300 copies on the day of the launch.
yeah.
And that was wow. To me, I was there, I saw it. I thought, oh my goodness, that's amazing. She honored me by saying I couldn't have done this without Kez by my side. We didn't go through a publisher. She went through a printer. There's so many ways to get a book out there. So many ways. You've got to be wise on your choice.
Mm,
Um, she didn't want to be international and she didn't want to be global. She
mm,
just wanted her little township here in Rockingham, a place called Kwinana and Mandurah, to get to know her books. She got hired through that book. She got hired to work in a huge firm, making up. They have, as you walk into their foyer, they have these wonderful, what would you call them? boxes of surprises, I would say. So yeah, she pretties up the foyer for them. She puts like big boxes in there, and you open the box, and what's in the box? It's amazing what goes on. But she came to me and she said, right, I've done the book. What next? So we had to sit down and put our thinking caps on. And this is what
Yeah.
a good mentor does. A
Yes.
mentor will think outside the box.
Yeah.
So now she's doing colouring jigsaws.
Yeah.
Each of her positive words has been put
Yeah.
into a jigsaw. It's coming out, I think, next month. And then she's doing flip cards. You know, remember the old
When you
Hayes
teach
House?
babies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember Hay House? They brought out the flip card of positive words. That was the first time I'd ever seen anything like this. Is coming back many years ago. I've taught her to re-emerge that, bring it out, a positive word or a positive quote every day off your book, not someone else's, but your thoughts on paper. And let's flip the card every day of something new. So, you might have each month there's a different saying, because it's, how many days of the year, that's a lot of flip cards. So we made it monthly. There's so many ways. You've got to be, as a mentor, you have to be really creative and you guide. Now, if your client says, I don't want to change it, they don't change it. There's no rule. So, but on warning the client, this will actually go before. If I put you before a publisher, and I have 3 publishers I'm affiliated with, if I put you before one of them, that publisher will say, yes, please, or no, thanks. If it's yes, please, you go before a professional editor. You go before a book proofer.
Yeah.
So it's no longer. Now, when I was little and I learned that to get a book written, you had to find a publisher. That's all we knew.
Yeah.
You had to send as I called them, lots of papers when I was very little. And I saw it happen. I saw it happen with my school teachers. They would send their manuscripts off. And it went before a publisher. Nobody knew what happened. It went into a big, as far as I was concerned, went down a long tunnel and popped out the other end as a book.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And it wasn't until I started publishing myself, giving my work over to a publisher, I realized the hard work. And if your publisher is not a good publisher, then the editing and the proofing won't be perfect. You will find people ringing you personally and saying, you missed a full stop.
Yeah.
You misspelled a word. That's so embarrassing. Because you've got to stop and say, it's not me, it's my publisher.
Yeah.
And then they think you're making excuses. You're not. It's what the publisher has missed. And you've got to be fair. Even the best publisher on earth will
make mistakes.
Will miss dotting the I. Will boo-hoo. It's in the book, and the next one will be better. Everyone has to make a mistake to improve. We don't do it naturally.
And the other thing is, Kez, that, from my perspective, so what if there's a full stop missing? So what if there's a misspelt word? Like, seriously, if that's the only thing that you have to complain about in life, life is very small for the person making that comment. And I actually am a believer that you cease to have the right to criticize someone unless you've done something similar. So if Kez reads a book and finds a spelling mistake, I would take that over and above anyone else's commentary, because I know Kez has been there and done that. She's done the hard yard. She's 13 books published is not a small achievement. That's a massive achievement. That's a massive amount of work. That's a massive amount of personal growth and putting yourself out there. That's no small feat. So for someone to come back and say to Kez, oh, there's a full stop missing, my response would be, oh, okay, so where's your 13 published books? I actually think that you cease to have the right to criticize unless you've been there and done it yourself. I actually believe that you don't have the right to be super critical and super focused unless you've been in there and done it yourself.
Very true.
I think that Kez has earned the right to be that expert and that wise person in writing and publishing because she's got 13 books to her name. And that has come with lots and lots of life learning. As you heard before, Kez 12 months ago would not get up in front of a group of people, but yet she still does it, and she still comes on this show each and every week, shows up, interviews with me, and I just think that's amazing. I think that women come into a wonderful and amazing part of their life as they age, because I think that there's a wisdom that comes with age. And if you can listen to a wise woman, you will be a better person just because of that, Kez.
Yes, well, sadly, I didn't have any elders in my life.
Yes.
My last grandparent died when I was just turned 15. My mother passed away when I was 30. So I haven't had wise women in my life. So when I meet people that are in their 70s and 80s, I soak it up because
Yeah.
I think you've lived life, you've seen it. And when
Yes.
people say to me, it's quite cheeky actually when they say, "Oh, did you see? Were you part of World War II?" No, I was not. I was not part of. I was, I was after World War II, quite a way after World War II. But I saw what it did to people. That piqued my interest in people. Yesterday, was it yesterday? No, Monday, I was invited to do a 10-minute speech before an American and Canadian audience. So I
Wow.
did. And what I tried to make them understand is I have a really large family that I don't really know anymore because the people that I am was related to, have passed over. They have left people, their families behind them, of course. So I have third, fourth, fifth, sixth cousins I've never met. Now, part of my family, and it's not in my bloodline, but part of my family are Maori. I have part of a family that's Fijian Indian. I have part of a family that is Jewish, Irish, and English.
Wow.
Now, how they all came to New Zealand, I'm busy finding out myself at the moment. But we had these people around our kitchen table.
Mm.
Now, as a little girl of 10 and 12, and my parents being very, very religious and following the line that you had to step on, you didn't go off that line. When my relations invited me for school holidays, I was there. I used to say to my parents, please let me go, please let me go. And I learned stories. As a 12-year-old, I was dressed in a sari with my Fijian Indian relations,
Yeah.
whose people were so beautiful, so loving, so kind. Dressed in a sari, my hair slicked back with lily oil. Pure, I just smelt like lily.
Oh.
With a bindi on my
Yes.
forehead,
Yes.
eye makeup to die for, loads and loads of bracelets and jewelry, walking down the main street of Wellington called Cuba Street, being Hare Krishna.
Oh, that's. I've got a gorgeous vision of that now.
Who would have thought? My parents, when they found out, they were horrified. I'll always remember my mother's face. But yes, I did that for maybe 3 or 4 months before they found out. Nothing bad about it, nothing horrendously evil about it. I was interested in why these people, who were they? Who was this Hare Krishna? Why couldn't I talk about him? This was how my brain worked. When I was 16, maybe 15, 16, I would attend the leader of my parents' cult. I would go for dinner at their house, at the leader's house. And they were Americans and really open-minded about discussing religion. fascinated me, because originally I was brought up as a Roman Catholic, and their mum said, no, that's not good. So we'll go to Church of England. And then that's not good. So they became very religious and in their little cult world. So to listen to people all around me as a grown up, treated like an adult, and talked about the Mormons. I'd never
Yes.
heard about these people. Who were
Yeah.
these people?
Yeah.
I was fascinated by religion, by always being fascinated by topics of conversation.
Yeah.
And I've always been a listener. Never so, if you don't know about it, then don't talk about it because you look like an idiot. So I just would listen and soak it in so much that I'm now writing about different people and religions, and I just find it amazing. The movie took me by absolute surprise.
Yeah.
MMH Press, they've honoured me in many ways, like being on a panel as a poet. Wow.
Yeah.
Poetry comes to me very naturally.
Yeah.
And what's next? Front cover of a magazine called Honeybee.
I know.
And
Kez
yeah,
shared the cover with me first thing this morning. It's incredibly exciting. Kez, thank you so much for sharing with the audience today the story of Kez. As I said, it's a wonderful privilege for me to co-host a show with you each and every week. It's
thank you.
kind of the highlight of my week and the moment that I look forward to. I can actually relax and just share the load with someone. That, my friends, is our show for this week. We've completely run out of time talking to Kez about her life and her story. We will be back next week with another author. Until then, I encourage you, if you've got a book rattling around in your head and you just want someone to talk to, please reach out to Kez. She's available on all socials. Her contact details will appear in the notes aligned with this show. I encourage you. This beautiful, amazing, wise woman is there to help you, and she can give you advice. She can take you on a mentoring journey, and then she can introduce you to the publishers who will help you get your book to reality. And if not, she'll tell you that as well. So please, audience, connect with Kez Wickham St George. I encourage you to do that, especially if you've got ideas around any sort of book. Kez, thank you so much for coming on the show with me each and every week. I can't wait to actually get to hug you in person coming up shortly. But in the meantime, we have a few more shows to get through before that happens. But that, my friends, is your lot for this week. The Author and Artist Hour will be back next week with my co-host Kez Wickham St George. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
I'm so grateful that you've come on the show today to tell us about this process, because we must tell these stories. We